Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers, on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every fortnight we pick a film topic. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out in 3 categories: directing, acting, and screenplay, and we score them out of 10 to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to 2 film geeks from Wiltshire, England. Enjoy! Hello, film fans. This week on the Film vs. Film podcast, as the film The Dig is out on Netflix this January, we're going to have a look at Ralph Fiennes' films, as he stars in that. So we thought we'd do our favourite Ray Fiennes films. So what's your pick, Mr. Encyclopedia Man?
My pick was The Constant Gardener.
Why did you pick that?
Literally, it was one of the very few Ray Fiennes films I could actually remember watching. So,
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was basically it. I was just trying to think, what is a Ray Fiennes film? And then I remembered I had watched The Constant Gardener. So so that's why.
That's one of very few Ray Fiennes films I haven't seen, actually. So it was really interesting to watch this one. Do you want to kick things off, or
Yeah, sure. So
directing first, or
screenplay maybe. The Constant Gardener is about Ray Fiennes plays a guy called Justin who works for the British government. He gets this woman who's like an activist ends up marrying him. And Rachel Weisz, yeah. When they go to Africa and stuff, she's very much trying to uncover this conspiracy that the drugs being pushed in Africa for AIDS and TB are not very good. Do you know what I mean? They're actually quite deadly.
Yeah, the British government and the drug companies trying to cover up these deaths, aren't they?
Yeah.
Tessa, Rachel Weisz's character, is trying to uncover it, which obviously leads to her death. And then you find Ralph Fiennes' character trying to figure out what the hell's going on, why was she killed, and he goes on this big journey. I think Tessa's one of my favourite characters. I think Weisz is brilliant.
Yeah.
And there's a bit at a party, and she's talking to one of the doctors running the health clinics in Africa, and she's wondering why the essential medicine isn't reaching the local people, and she says to the doctor, "We've been wondering, is that a standard cock-up, Dr. Ngabi, or were pills converted into the limo you arrived in?"
Oh, wow. yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, she's always quite, sharp.
Ngaba.
Yeah, she's quite sharp-tongued and quite outspoken.
Very sarcastic.
Yeah, very much. Well, I mean, even when she meets him, Ray Fiennes' character, he's sticking up for the British government's response to the Iraq War. And she's a reporter, and she goes completely mental on him. And the whole Iraq War, calling it Vietnam War Part 2 or something.
Certainly Ralph Fiennes in the beginning is fairly reserved.
Yeah, very reserved.
Because there's that great scene near the beginning where he's doing a lecture to all these students, and then Tessa speaks up and basically has an argument with him. And Ralph is basically really tries to continue to be polite and professional.
Yeah.
And everyone leaves the room, and she gets really annoyed. But in the end, and they end up getting together. But you find out later on that it's just all a ploy to get close to the drug companies to uncover this conspiracy. And obviously Ralph Fiennes falls for her. It's got a really great dynamic for Fiennes' character when he finds out that Tessa just used him to get close to the drug companies, but a few of the other characters that he meets along the journey, do tell him that, Tessa did genuinely love you. But it's just that battle in his head that he's got is did she actually love me, or didn't she? Did she just lose?
Well, I like I like the whole thing that they were setting up with her and her confidant, that were doing the research. That's really... Oh, is it Arnold?
Arnold, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one, Arnold, yeah. Yeah, but even then, you can tell he's not sure if she genuinely likes him, because she's very close with Arnold, and they're always going out together and collecting research and stuff. and going on his business trips, to Africa and doing their thing.
Well, there's even that bit where Tessa tries to blackmail Sandy to get the letter, I think, to see the letter, and she's fully prepared to literally use her body for sex to get what she wants with him. He's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want to get what I want,
Yeah, I suppose maybe it goes into screenplay, but, where it goes into a shot of her with, because, she's expecting a baby, and it goes into a shot with her with a black baby, and I was like, oh my God. Drama.
Oh yeah,
but it's actually it's some other woman's. Baby. Yeah, it's another girl's baby who's dying of the drug. Yeah,
she dies of the drug.
Yeah, so that was quite a good reveal. But I do think she genuinely did like him, or love him or whatever.
You reckon?
I do reckon.
But I think the film definitely leaves it in doubt whether
true.
she did or not. But because certainly through Ralph Fiennes' death scene, he's looking back at Tessa a lot and their time together.
Yeah.
I think just for his own peace of mind, I guess, moments before he's going to die, because he knows he is. Really, that he's just trying to cling on to that fact that Tessa did love him. He's just trying to make himself believe it, if you know what I mean, before he dies. He's trying to hang on to that emotion.
Yeah.
Just trying to not to have that sense of doubt in his mind before he dies.
Yeah.
Which I found really interesting.
One problem I do have with, I suppose, films like this is the conspiracy can be a bit maybe hard to follow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit. Because it very much starts out as a love story, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And then that kind of goes away. Some of it can be, I think, frequent time jumps and things like that make it also a little bit harder to follow as well. I don't know. I kind of felt like, exactly where are we time wise? In some.
I don't think it was too hard to follow. I think there's a lot of flashback memory stuff. I think with Ralph Fiennes' character looking back at Tessa. Certainly in the opening of the film, they start with Tessa's death, and then the next scene is them meeting for the first time, and then they go to his place and have a nice time.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of jumping around, but I don't think it's that difficult, to follow it in the beginning. And then after that, it's very much memories.
I think, what was it? The only kind of really funny line that sort of stuck to me was when he's talking to that South African guy, in the middle of the desert. And he was saying something like, you know how it is, God's got you by the head, the devil's got your balls, or something. I quite like that. That's my favourite line.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a damn good line.
One of the other lines that sticks with me is when they're in the aeroplane and they're about to land in the Sudan. And obviously when you get to Sudan, it's a very rural and very different world there. And the pilot says, better strap yourself in, we're landing on the surface of the moon. And it's kind of prepares you that Sudan is a very different place to anything that we've seen previously in the film.
I kind of thought there was a kind of nice bit of symmetry. But when they're coming back from the hospital, with that woman who had the baby, she was looking after her.
Yeah.
And they're coming back in the car, and they see three, a woman and two kids or something. Yeah, struggling to get by. And she wants him to pick them up. And he's like, no, I can't. He's like, come on, just. Well, there are millions of people in need, but you can help those three right there. And he's like, no, listen,
I can't break the rules.
Yeah, I can't. And then,
why not?
Yeah, but then at the end, he kind of does the same sort of thing. Like when there's that raid on the village, he's like, to the pilot, just save that one kid. It's like there are hundreds of kids here. It's like just that one. But then the kid runs away. Yeah.
But I think the kid wanted to run away anyway. To be fair, but. I think he wanted to be. That's the dilemma.
Well, he wanted to save
the film
kid.
had. Yeah. He wanted to save him, but I think the kid wanted to go back to his family anyway. So even though they're probably going to die, So has a very strong moral complexity about that scene.
Yeah. Aside from the sort of his sort of love angle and trying to find out why she died for love and ruminating, it's quite a bleak film. It's quite, it's pretty bleak. It's pretty much like, people are shit.
Well, it's possibly reflecting what could be happening right now with the coronavirus vaccine.
Yeah.
So,
Well, actually, what was it? My dad was saying this thing about, like, when my uncle died, my Nigerian uncle, and that he had malaria, and that they reckoned he had, like, terrible side effects from the drugs, and they don't think that they were properly tested. But, that's just what my parents think. That could be true. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know.
My favourite line, I think, is from Tessa. As I said, we've been wondering, is that a standard cock-up, Mr. Ngaba, or were pills converted into the limo you arrived in?
Yeah, that's a good line.
I just think it's such a great Saki line that really pisses people off in that party. What was your favourite line?
I think I just said it just with the guy saying, God's got you by the head and the devil's got you by the balls. I just think that's a really good line. I'm definitely going to use it.
In normal conversation.
Just anything. Did you get the eggs? Well, the God's got you by the head, the devil's got you by the balls.
So what score would you give it?
For screenplay, maybe 7.
I would go for
none of this decimal dicking about. Just
7.3.
You know.
Oh, the strong swear words are coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna go downhill from here. I've set the ball rolling.
Should we do directing then?
Yeah, sure.
I found the directing really interesting. The fact that I think sometimes the director, to set the scenes and things, he just gave the cameraman the camera and just said, "Do what you want for a bit. Just make it nuts."
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. It does have that,
it's all over the shop.
It is really all over.
But in a good way.
Good way. I think with some scenes, actually, like, the longer you're watching it, it feels more real. It feels more like it's a documentary or something.
Hey everybody, it's Mark Summers. You might remember me from Nickelodeon's Double Dare, or remember the time Burt Reynolds and I got into a little tiff on The Tonight Show.
And you'll treasure it later. Don't touch me.
Over the decades in showbiz, I've met some pretty interesting people in the world. Now, on this show, I'm going to talk to some of them and find out what makes them tick. Some of the guests on our first season include my friends Anthony Ramos.
You auditioned for In the Heights, and that one didn't go so well either.
Didn't go so well. It's different from bombing.
Al Roker.
My agent called and said, the producers of Waitress are wondering if you'd be interested in playing Old Joe. Ouch.
And many more.
Tune in for the first episode of Mark Summers Unwraps.
Yeah, because in the opening scene, there's a Jeep crash, and it's quite interesting as there's loads of very strong, Dutch angles, and it's quite disorientating, especially that first shot. It took me a few seconds just to work out what the hell was going on. And you're like, oh yeah, a Jeep has crashed.
Yeah.
And then you get, on the other side, there's kind of an intimate style of directing as well, and kind of very playful, because in the sex scene, it's quite, it's quite passionate. But at the same time, the characters are giggling and doing these odd comments during the sex scene. It just feels very real and intimate. A lot of shots on the characters are very tight, really close. And there's one where there's a handheld camera on Wise just before she's going into the room to ask Fiennes to go to Africa with him. And she looks, and the camera's really close on her, and she just looks really nervous. And it just reinforces that intimate style, because obviously after you've seen the film, as we've said, it's the debate of did she actually love him for real or not. In that moment for her character, is she doing the right thing, for her own sake, just to lead this guy on for so long for her own cause. Yes, it be a really big cause, an important cause, but she's leading the guy on. But as we said, there's that ambiguity there that did she love him or not? Some people say that they did love each other, especially her, or didn't they?
Do you remember there was that bit where she was getting out of the bath and he got an email and he didn't want her to see it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great little bit of acting from him, from Ralph Fiennes, because at that time I don't think he wants to believe it. It's just there kind of to put that in his head a little bit, but I think he quickly dismisses it I think, but that she would never do that to him because their relationship is quite strong at that point.
Yeah. Or when she said, like, that they should name the baby Arnold. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm a sucker for transitions. There's two shots that really stick with me visually in my head because of how unique they are. And one was after he's been been assaulted in his hotel room or something. Room, after asking questions and stuff. And like they beat the crap out of him. They, put some stuff in his mouth to shut him up, and then give him like a card which says, you know what happened to your wife. Do you want that to happen to you? And then they leave. Yeah. And in his daze, it replays the scene from her in the shower, but he's still on the floor. And I really like that sort of stuff. I thought that is a damn good shot.
Because his head and shoulder kind of like frames the shot a bit of her in the shower. So I've not really you don't see that very often when you look back on like memories in films where you actually have the character in the present, looking back in the past. Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, there are some films that do it, but I thought I wasn't expecting that, and that came really good. So, some films that I can take on my mind, being a Marvel, whatever. But like the Winter Soldier, when he goes to the army base, that happens. But I thought that was really well done, especially how like really colourful she looked coming out of the shower. Contrasted with like the dankness of his floor and his room.
And then just before that, I think when his attackers leave, they're like just playing football in the corridor. There's a little shot where they're just playing football. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like a big Dutch angle.
Yeah.
It's just as if, like, we do this all the time. They just send us where to go and we just beat someone up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what was it? Yeah. Even when they show the picture of the guys in the vans come to kill him, they look like teenagers. They look really young.
Yeah.
So it's like, most of these, they're just doing their job or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of got a sort of, I suppose, very realistic but very kind of cynical look at, at people and what they sort of do.
I think one of my favourite scenes is when Ralph Fiennes finds out Tessa was only with him to blackmail the British government.
Yeah.
He's in the garden. He doesn't know what to do with himself, and
he starts clearing the garden, doesn't he?
Yeah, he finds us in Tessa's garden, and there's a shot where the camera literally goes all over the place while he's sitting down. Like the movement's just really weird, and it just kind of shows like the confusion of like just trying to process what the hell is going on. Yeah. Why has she done this to him? And then the whole scene is kind of intercut with earlier scenes where they were first together. And Fiennes is just kind of like sobbing at the window. The scene ends with an odd composition of Fiennes like sitting down, but he's like bottom right of the screen. Like the rest of the shot is like negative space. It's just a really odd composition. You get that sense of Fiennes' character is just so lost and just like very confused about what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Was his relationship all a lie or was it genuine, So I thought that was really a great way to just trying to represent what was going on in his mind. Oh yeah, and going back to the Sudan scene, and when they first arrive, like there's these sweeping camera shots of the local people like crowding past the camera, because you get this sense of the people feeling really excited to see white people, like,
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was in India on an internship, you kind of had that as soon as I got my camera out on, like, we were in schools, like, filming teachers. And in break times when I took my camera out, most of the kids just crowded me, you know. It's like, take a picture of me, me. It's just like, oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it kind of brought back that same feeling for me a little bit.
Yeah.
And it has this weird, cultural divide where, when, certainly African people, maybe, certainly children, when they see white people, they expect, like, big things or, money or a lot of help and things, but it's just not always the case.
Well, I do like any scene with, like, Rachel Weisz just hanging around in Africa and just kind of a real feeling that it's kind of real. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of vibrant, there's stuff happening, and, there was a play, there's, people singing and dancing, there's all this stuff going on. And then when Ralph Fiennes is, like, following through Africa in her footsteps, it was, like, really sort of quite strange. It's, like, less happiness and more people in queues for medication and, and just kind of, just really sort of authoritarian and sort of like dystopian.
The raid scene in the Sudan is pretty intense because they pretty much use all handheld cameras and they keep it quite tight, so it just reinforces the movement of the bandits on the horses and things. It's just so like brutal and intense, that scene during the raid. I was like, bloody hell, this is crazy. Literally stuff happening all over the shot.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite shot?
So I would say the one in his bedroom, the flashback one with her in the shower. Like, I thought
that's a
that
really
was
good one. Yeah.
that was a really good shot. It was so good that it's still like just embedded in my brain. I was like, wow, that is a really, really clever shot.
You don't see shots like that.
You don't see them much, not really.
When they look at memories, it's usually just a POV shot.
Yeah.
But with this, it still is. But you've got Fiennes framing the shot as well. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A lot of directors wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Or it completely changes location or area or whatever, or time of day. But I just love it that it was incorporated into the same sort of scene. It's like it's coming out of his head, basically,
My favourite shot is probably the extreme close-up on Fiennes' eyes just before he's going to die.
Yeah.
Quite morbid, but it's just the intensity and sadness and all that emotion. You could just see all of his emotion in his eyes just before he dies. I thought that was quite a incredible shot, really. And even the shots of the landscape he's walking through before he dies is pretty incredible, of the African landscape. It's just really stunning. So I would probably give directing about an 8.2. How about you, sir?
Yeah, give me a sec. Maybe an 8.4.
Get moving on to acting. Any good acting moments for you?
Sandy, he's pretty. Actually, I've just kind of clocked on. He's called Sandy, and they're in Africa, which has a lot of sand. Is there a connection?
Right. Great connection there.
Maybe. I'm a genius. I don't know. I've forgotten what I was saying. Yeah, I'm a genius. Yeah, that'll do. So his acting I quite liked. He's quite a slimy bugger. Just really, I don't know, there's just something wrong with him.
Bit of a prick.
He's a massive prick. When you first meet him, though, he does seem like a genuinely nice guy. And then it's just over time, it's like, no, he's just a tosser. He
just wants to be with Rachel Fiennes' character, doesn't he?
Rachel Fiennes.
Rachel
Fiennes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just imagining.
Rachel Wise.
I'm just imagining a mashup of Rachel Wise and Ralph Fiennes. My God, I don't know if that would be sexy.
Rachel Wise. There you go. Fiennes, Wise.
Yeah.
Similar.
Ralph Wise. Yeah. Ralph Wise.
He's a wise man.
He's a wise man. Oh my God.
But I think the chemistry between those two, though, Fiennes and Wise, is really great. Though it's convincing right from the start. I would say.
And props to Ralph Fiennes as well. I mean, he's always bloody terrific. So so that's good. Especially, I think more so when everything's going, when she's
tits
definitely
up.
when everything's going really tits up. And he's like basically having like mini breakdowns, so he does a really good job.
Every time Ralph finds out shocking news, like the death of his wife, or seeing the body and finding out his best friend Sandy had an affair, Ralph doesn't seem to do a lot, but all the emotions are there on his face so clearly, but it's so subtle compared to all the other characters. I remember the scene when he does see Tessa's body, when they go to the morgue. Obviously, he looks shocked, but it's certainly done in a subtle way from Fiennes. But Danny Hudson, he's so freaked out by the body, he just throws up, and then Fiennes just helps him.
Yeah. I remember that,
So it's a very understated performance and very subtle.
He's good at gardening as well. He really, he really
tidying
portrays
up Tessa's garden.
Yes, he portrays a gardener very, very well. 10 out of 10. But yeah.
Well, when you said the constant gardener, I was like, what? I don't want to watch a film about a guy constantly gardening all the time. That sounds very boring.
No, it's an intriguing mystery thriller about
finding weeds.
Yeah, finding weeds in the Sudan.
My God, that would be that's just terrible.
Did you hear about that one film that was like, what's it called? It was about fishing in the Middle East. It had a hilariously weird...
salmon fishing in the Yemen.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that sounds so weird.
Was it Ewan McGregor? I think.
Yeah. I never watched it, but
No, thanks.
I remember the trailer. I was
good.
like, what? Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
I loved Bill Nye's face when he hears the scandal coming out during the funeral.
Oh yeah, that was good.
For Tessa and Justin, he just looks brilliantly agitated and pissed off.
Yeah,
and then he just.
It's like his face falls. Yeah, his face falls like 3 miles down. It's like.
Yeah.
Well, he's basically because in the letter he's reading his words back to him. That was like what he was saying about Rachel Weisz's character and about what she was looking into.
And then you get after the funeral scene, you see these basically real kids following a guy with a camera. As I said before, jumping and smiling. And it's quite a sad moment because these kids could die of the drug Pyraxa. They could kill these kids.
Yeah, it
could be one of them. Which is quite a powerful scene, actually.
But I like when the kid is like on the computer, just searching all these documents and stuff, and clicks a video, and it's a video of her like waking him up and stuff, and like they just like stand up and get out of the way so he can just watch some home movie.
Oh yeah, that was quite a sweet moment.
Yeah,
charming.
Yeah,
So
charming.
what's your favourite? Yes. We'll get a lot of charm into the next film.
Yeah. You're kind of like Ralph Fiennes' character, very posh and.
So, what's your favourite performance?
I would say Sandy is probably up
Danny
there.
Hudson.
Yeah, and then
interesting.
Yeah, I know that's a really interesting, weird sort of pick. And then I would go with Ralph Fiennes, or maybe neck and neck with him and Ralph Fiennes.
I'm going to go Ralph Fiennes, to be fair.
Yeah.
It wasn't difficult for me, really. I think maybe the closest one after that was possibly Rachel Weisz, even though she's not in the film. She's not in the whole film, but certainly she leaves an incredible impact after she basically leaves the film.
Actually, I might change my answer. I'm going to go Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Fiennes?
Yeah, Rachel Fiennes, you get Ralph Weisz. That's the one.
So acting, I'm going to score this pretty high, to be fair. I think it's quite impressive, the acting, I would say. I'm going to go 8.8.
Like, I did quite like it. Probably not as high as that. Maybe like 8.1. Or just like, yeah, something like that. Or 8.2. Maybe 8.2.
All right, let's tally these scores up for The Constant Gardener. 47.9. So my pick then is The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, man, that was an amazing movie. Sorry to interject. Yeah. Great choice. That was awesome.
I'd only seen it once, but it left such an impact. I was like, yeah, I need to see this again. I mean, there were other films in contention. Like, I really like him in Harry Potter. Yeah, The Goblet of Fire. The end scene from him when you first see him as Voldemort for the first time, he is amazing. I was tempted to pick that. But yeah, that he just has such a brilliant, British charm in the Grand Budapest Hotel. So directing, then, we'll start with that.
Yeah.
So with the directing, I love the opening monologue between Tom Wilkinson, and the camera quickly pans to the right and shows his son trying to shoot him with a toy gun. And he's like, "No, stop it! I'm trying to explain the film." Do you remember that bit?
Yeah,
yeah, hilarious.
Yeah, that was really funny.
And his directing style is kind of cool because everything's very symmetrical and geometrically correct. Everything's all in its place, kind of thing. And even with the tracking shots, it's all kind of parallel with the room or the landscape. You're not going to get a lot of curves or anything with Wes Anderson, and with the geometry of it, if the camera will always be kind of in the center of the room, kind of thing. So when you see that kind of stuff, you kind of know immediately it's a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, it was done really well. I did like, as you said, how even tracking-wise, it's the main character or whatever is immediately in the middle. There's a lot of empty space and everything is very symmetrical, as you said, just very symmetrical, and very clean and very bright, and like the colours are quite rich, and it's a really nice looking film. It kind of reminded me very strangely of like maybe a kid's pop-up book, you know, or it's got that kind of feel. It doesn't feel real, but in a really good way. It feels sort of very surreal, very dreamlike, very kind of like storybooky, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you in that sense with the animation. The animation has a very classic style, that very pop-up book style with, you know, the cable car scene and the ski chase, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just has that great extra charm to it with the animation.
Or even when the hotel is revealed, it just looks like it was literally made with ruler and scissors and, you know, and coloured bits of paper, you know. It's just a very unique looking film. It's just so strange. Yeah. I quite liked it, you know.
The colours definitely like pop out a lot, you know, with their purple suits and things. I like the aspect ratio change from... Well, no, it starts off with Tom Wilkinson's character in 1985.
And then he becomes Jude Law.
It's still... Yeah. They go back to 1968 in 16 by 9.
Actually, hang on a minute. There's quite a... Well, I was just going to say there's quite a few trips back before you actually get to the beginning, because there's that little boy who sees the bust of the author who's been dead. Then she opens the book for the Grand Budapest Hotel.
That's in 1985 with Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah. Well, that's in the book.
Opening monologue.
The book, the opening monologue.
Yeah.
But it's like the guy, the little person opens the book, and then that's Tom Wilkinson. His character. That's his book, and then so there's quite a few time jumps in the first 30 seconds. Yeah.
Then when you get to Jude Law's character in 1968. It's all in 16 by 9, talking to the old Zero. And then when they get talking, when Zero's explaining the story about Mr. Gustav, Ralph Fiennes' character, they go back to the 1930s, and then it changes to 4:3, like square aspect ratio. It basically represents the times that they're going into with the aspect ratio, which I quite appreciated. And it kind of like shows as well the history of cinema a little bit as well, that in the 30s you would only see films shot in that square 4:3 window. I must say this film is fucking hilarious as
It
well.
is. Yeah, the comic timing is really funny. I was going to say one of my favourite lines is where like the cops are talking to him, and they saying that he's a suspect for the old woman's murder, and he's like, "Oh, I see. There was no cause of death, and you think I did it?" And then he just runs. Yeah. And it's
just
stuff like that.
Buggers off really quickly. It's great, like comic acting, but it's a great visual gag with no dialogue, where they're in the prison and the prison guard is inspecting all the food, so he like uses his cleaver to chop like a big sausage and bread and stuff, and then a Mendel cake comes shaped like a hammer and chisel, and he just leaves it because he doesn't want to ruin it, and then just move that along. Chop the bread.
That was good.
It's just really funny.
Actually, another one is, do you remember when they're breaking out from the prison and they open the hatch and there's a bunch of cops playing cards and they're like, ah! And one of them jumps in there and kills them all. That was good.
Ralph Fiennes says...
Yeah, because he gets stabbed as well. Yeah, I think we'd call that a draw. It's like he killed 5 cops and then he died. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, the comic timing is really good. Yeah, it's generally quite a funny film.
One of my really great, clever shots that I liked is when we follow Jeff Goldblum's character. He's been followed by Willem Dafoe, and he gets on a tram in Lutz, and he pulls down the blind, and you see Willem Dafoe on his motorcycle, and then in the reflection on the window, and then when he brings it back up again, he notices him, and then do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And he pulls it back down, and you see him getting off the bike, starting up the bike to try and chase him.
Yeah,
I thought it was really clever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was saying, talking about comedy timing and uses of action, when he chucks that Jeff Goldblum's cat out the window, that had me in stitches. That was really funny. It's like, who are you working for? No, I'm meant to do this diplomatically within the law. Just throws his cat.
And then he's like to his secretary or something, did he just throw my cat out the window?
Look out, there's a red splat like in the middle of this.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was really good.
But there's a great bit straight after he gets on the tram, that scene. There's a great cat and mouse scene in the museum, but it ends quite brutally with Jeff Goldblum's fingers being cut straight off in the door. I was like, shit, that was insane. I audibly gasped, at that. I was like, whoa, I forgot that happened.
Yeah. And then he picks up his fingers and puts them in his pocket.
Oh, yeah. Because it's definitely got a bit of an edge, this film, because it is quite sweary and sexual.
Yeah. Do you remember when when Zero was talking about all the old women that Ray Fiennes basically, swoons, and you see all these like blonde old women, so he's talking to one, kissing another, dancing with another, and the other one's just like sucking his dick. It's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was insane. Yeah, it does a lot of
many hilarious lines in terms of his like sexual pleasures with the older ladies.
Yeah. Like, seriously, I think if we went through just how funny this film is and, like, how clever it is, we'd be here all day. All day. It's so clever. Like, literally, I wasn't expecting, like, every 5 seconds, like, there's something just so goddamn funny going on. Most
of it is pretty much from Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Ralph Fiennes is really good.
Do you have a favourite shot?
When they get on the skis and stuff. So the actual chase, that chase...
It looks so quick. I was like, woo!
Yeah, it just looks so ridiculous, but it's just so amazing at the same time. It's like, this is absurd.
Yeah, this film is just so beautiful in general. I think if you just picked most frames in this film, you'd happily put it on your wall, But I still think my favourite shot is the reflection bit in the tram. It's just really clever storytelling.
I was saying, like, what's just kind of amazing, not only was I saying, like, it has a sort of pop-up book feeling to it, especially, like, when they focus on, physical things like trams and buildings, but that every kind of, when it's a person in shot or one person or even a few, and just the way it looks, it's almost like a painting. So you have, like, loads of picture. Like, basically most of the scenes, it just looks like you could literally frame this as, like, a painting. And then it's quite interesting that the plot kind of revolves around a painting, that golden boy.
Boy with apple.
Oh, man, it was so funny when they stole the painting and replaced it with those two naked women. That looked really badly drawn. Oh, man, that was so funny.
Yeah, it's very dirty.
Yeah. There's so many good shots. Another one I really liked, actually, is when... they meet the bad guy and he starts shooting at them, and then the Grand Budapest Hotel guy starts shooting at him, and then the Nazis start shooting at everyone.
Adrian Brody, I think.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So what do you give directing then?
Oh man, I would give it like a 9.8. That's literally one of the... I'm serious. Yeah. I would say, I'm glad you suggested that, because that was literally one of the best movie experiences. I was going to say I've had all year. I've had all year, but it's only been 4 days through the year. But I would say probably the best I've seen. The best I've seen in quite a few years. I thought that was really genuinely quite good. Yeah, I would definitely watch it again. I'm already saying to loads of people now, watch the Grand Budapest Hotel.
I'm not sure I would go that high, but I think sometimes I think for some people his directing style is a bit of an acquired taste, because his humour is so British. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very dry. I wouldn't say it's dry. It's like it's quick. It's quick and it's witty, and it's also the characters. Yeah, the characters don't emote much. They're very. Just kind of, I don't know. It's just
like
sort of very
Zero
strange charm
is
to it.
very dry, isn't he?
Yeah.
Zero, he's very emotionless.
I would say a lot of characters are quite proper. They're quite, they're they've always got something to say.
British.
Yeah, they're very British. But everybody has got a quick wit. It's. I think the reason why I quite like this film so much is I never really watched that many Wes Anderson films, and the only one I think I've watched is The Fantastic Mr. Fox. But I really like The Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I was like, I just like the humour.
Isle of Dogs is really good as well.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should definitely watch that.
So I'd go maybe 9.2.
Another thing I was going to say for direction, because I really thought I need to mention this, but like towards the end of the film, so through most of the film, it's all colourful and vibrant, and everything is symmetrical and tidy. And I just love the contrast when he actually gets killed by the Nazis, and they ask to see his pass, and everything goes black and white. And when you see them into shot, they're not tidy. They're all rough and stuff. Like, you see everywhere. Everything else has been like tidy, symmetrical. They are not symmetrical. They're like teeth are missing and like mud, and they're just dirty and you know and grizzled.
It's kind of showing that representation of going into a fascist era.
Yeah.
In the late 30s, I guess.
Yeah, but I just kind of think that was a really good transition of like, this film is so whimsical and it's so fantastical and it's so colourful. Like, this is just, it seems like a dream. And then when you see the Nazis, it's like, no, like, this is real now. You know, no fantasy time.
'Cause it's really dark, the end, because obviously Ralph finds that you get told that he gets shot after that scene. And Agatha, Saoirse Ronan, and her baby literally die within a few years. I'm like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
It's
pretty
of
dark.
all its humour, it's really dark at the end.
Yeah. Well, actually, I thought, because they do talk about a lot of the darkness. He does say at the beginning that, you know, he didn't live to see a long time and his wife died and stuff. So he does kind of prep you, but you forget about it because of how just crazy the film is. You forget that it's going to have this bad ending, but he's told you it's going to have a bad ending. I think the thing I dislike the most about... I'll get to it. It's more of a writing thing. But I was going to say another thing that was quite shocking is when a woman loses her head, and I thought it was his wife. I thought that's how his wife died. And it was just like a maid or something. But like, that really freaked me out. Yeah. Like, he put her head in a basket and the cops are like, we got a woman's head. And I was like, that's how she dies?
It's not almost a jump scare, wasn't it, that bit?
Yeah, because they pull out the head. I was like, oh my God. But I didn't see her birthmark, so I was like, yeah, no, she's good. Yeah. She's good. Yeah, that was. I really like the film, man. I thought that was good.
Shall we do screenplay?
Yeah.
There are so many funny lines. I've written a few down.
Yeah, well, I think we've gone through a few, but you can just go on forever.
Yeah. I love the conversation Fiennes has with the lobby boy, Zero, about the old lady, the Countess, whom he loves, and who's just left the hotel near the beginning. And he says, I've never seen her like that before. Hang on, let me do that. I've never seen her like that before. She was shaking like a shitting dog.
Yeah, that was so funny. Yeah. Do you remember where he lambasts him for like not bringing perfume and wine and stuff? And he goes, I don't know if that's how they do it in your...
Breaks him out of prison.
Yeah, when he breaks him out of prison. And you didn't bring the perfume? Are you mad? You know, I've been in prison. And then he starts lambasting him. He's like, I don't know what like foreign village you're from, where you, and he's basically like racially insulting him. And he goes, and then Zero's like, I don't have any family. They were killed in the war. He's like, so you're a refugee? Oh dear God, boy, I'm so sorry. You know, he's like, I am a fool.
But then Ralph Fiennes is like, I'm going to have to stop you there because the alarm is going. You need to leave now.
Yeah.
It was just hilarious. So British.
I know. It's just so great.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned this as well, but going through what Monsieur Gustave likes in his women as a voiceover from the old...
Not many teeth, probably.
He says, the requirements were always the same. They had to be rich, insecure, vain, superficial, blonde, and needy. While a woman is giving head to Fiennes. To Jude Law, asking why blonde? Not mentioning that whole needy thing and getting head. But there we go. Which is hilarious. On the train, Fiennes explains what the Countess was like, and he ends by saying she was dynamite in the sack, by the way. And then Zero was like, she was 85. I've had older.
Yeah. I remember that. That was funny.
It was
really
just
funny.
so like straight, and just like, yeah. So what if she's 85?
Yeah.
I've
It's
had
just
90 probably.
yeah. There's just so many like really quirky bits in the film where you're just like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
What the fuck?
Yeah, I like actually when William Dafoe had him cornered and he's like trying to stamp him down, and Ralph Fiennes is basically singing a poem. He's like composing a poem. And then just before he's finished the poem, Zero pushes William Dafoe off and he's like, fucking hell. You know?
Oh, yeah, no. He says, holy shit, you've got him!
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
He would just say, like, scream out or something, but he actually just says, holy shit, you've got him. It's such a British thing to say.
Oh, man. I liked also when they had to dress up like monks. That was ridiculous. There's just so many. There's so many. But like, if this was a serious film, I would go, that's stupid. But because it's like this is just this world, it's just so daft. But it's lovely. It's beautiful.
There's a great scene where Adrian Brody's character confronts Gustav after the will reading, and where all the
Oh yeah.
And he ends the speech by saying, he probably fucks them too. And then Gustav says, I go to bed with all my friends. And then he punches and punch.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. Because, what was it?
And somehow the lobby boy takes out Adrian Brody. But
yeah. Because doesn't he punches Adrian... Adrian Brody punches him, Zero punches Adrian Brody, and William Dafoe punches... punches Zero. Yeah, that was amazing.
And then, like, William Dafoe just turns around and then shows all his knuckles with his rings and stuff. And you get this vignetting around his face, which is kind of weird, but kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Just adds to that, like, quirky charm with that vignetting.
Yeah, definitely. He was savage in that film. Just evil.
Then you cut to one of the old family members asks the guy beside him, who's, in his 30s or something. He's like, where's Celine? And he says, she's dead. We're reading her will. He's like, oh, yes. Anyway, I found that hilarious.
Yeah.
Even though, you shouldn't laugh at that bit because obviously he's an old man forgetting.
Yeah. Now, there was there's kind of weird bits that I kind of found quite funny. Like small bits, There was one where Ralph Fiennes is like reading. He's talking about this huge philosophy on how to run a good hotel, and you're wondering who he's talking to, and it turns around, and I thought he was just talking to Zero, but it's the whole staff on one long table as they just eat like pigs, like barely listening to him.
Oh yeah,
that was funny. That was
quite funny. They come back to that a few times, don't they, in the film? Yeah. So, have you got a favourite line? To choose from.
There's so much to choose from. It looks like a draw. That was really funny.
Yeah.
I
think mine is, holy shit, you've got him!
Yeah, actually, that was a really good one. That was funny. Have you noticed also, there were scenes where the detectives knew where Gustav was going because of his damn perfume? They said it at the beginning. He wore really strong perfume that you could even smell him way after he's gone. And they showed, like, even in the lift, people are like, And
you can't compromise on how you smell, Balance.
Yeah, no, I know.
Gotta smell good.
Yeah, so many people have told me. But anyway, no, it was really good. But I just love how, like, everybody, William Dafoe is like, because they named the smell, but I can't remember what it was called. But he's like, names it and
something exotic or something.
Yeah, something exotic. And and what's his face does the same. Bruce Banner.
Just completely the opposite to
Edward
these Vinnie Jones's adverts about Brute. It's like, it's just Brute. You just put it on and yeah, whatever.
It smells good.
Anyway. That'll do.
Yeah. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
Now to the Perfume podcast.
Yeah.
So screenplay...
Sponsored by Lynx.
Screenplay... 8.7.
Okay. I'll go maybe 8.9.
See, I suckered you in there to make you score higher.
Yeah, because I'm always trying to beat
acting,
you, even on your phone.
So what's some of your favourite performances in the film? Because there's a lot of cameos. This cast is huge, isn't it?
I know, yeah. It's really nuts. Yeah, Ralph Fiennes, obviously, it's basically his film. There's William Dafoe, there's Jeff Goldblum, there's my God, it just goes on and on.
Mathieu Almeric, Adrian Brody, William Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Harvey Keitel, Jude Law, Bill Murray, Edward Norton, Saoirse Ronan, Jason Schwartzman, Lea Seydoux, even Tilda Swinton is in there for a few shots. Tom Wilkinson. The cast is pretty insane.
Yeah. I just remember. Do you remember when he calls the Cross Keys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then you get loads of cameos.
Yeah, that's where most of those cameos are from, I think. Because Bill Murray, I remember Bill Murray, and then there were a bunch of other actors, like big ones. But I just love how, like, Bill Murray phones a guy who is doing something like... isn't there one guy he's resuscitating someone, and they're like, there's a phone call for you, and he's like, take over. And the guy takes over. Yeah. They all say take over. And he calls another guy, and he's at a kitchen tasting soup, and he's like, it's a call for you, take over. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's like a weird spy movie. Spy movies, I guess.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, there's some little great acting moments as well. On the train, just before Gustav and the lobby boy get into a scuffle with the soldiers, they all kind of like give each other the eyes, before they like start a scuffle, which is quite funny, I thought, and clever. Very like cartoony acting.
Yeah, definitely.
I love seeing Harvey Keitel as well. I don't think he does enough work at all.
Yeah.
Other than bloody direct line guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was great with a bold cap and tattoos all over himself. And I thought, because he had his arms
I completely forgot that was Harvey Keitel. No,
Really?
I forgot that was Harvey Keitel. Okay, yeah. That was good. Yeah, I like that.
It was weird because he kind of has, when you first see him properly in his monologue, he's got his arms stretched out in front of him. And I thought he was kind of like flexing his pecs a bit. But no, it was just like, it's just bits of flesh wobbling. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Ew.
No, I might up the screenplay with mine, maybe 9.3.
You can't change it.
I can change, man. You're still gonna win. I just quite like it. Yeah, it's your film. You're still gonna win.
What did you go for?
I went 8.9. I'm gonna go up 9.3.
8.9. Yeah. 9.3. Okay.
Yeah. It's a cracking film. It's so funny.
Yeah. Any other acting moments you liked?
The Adult Zero. Anytime like Adult Zero was either narrating or just like he was just doing whatever, crying or whatever. I just thought he was great.
F. Murray Abraham.
Yeah, he was a great character.
Favorite performance then?
Actually, I might actually say that guy. Yeah, F. Murray Abraham. Even though it is like
really?
a Ralph Fiennes film, I don't know. Yeah,
he's kind of the heart of the film, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
more than Young Zero. I'm gonna have to go with Ralph Fiennes again. I think he's just so brilliantly funny. He just has this incredible British humour. Yeah, he's just amazing in this film. So acting, I think. It's very different, obviously, from The Constant Gardener. It's very subtle acting in The Constant Gardener, whereas this, it's very...
over the top.
Over the top. In some senses, from some of the characters, very cartoonish. But that's the point, obviously, which I think is slightly easier to do. I think certainly with the line delivery, it is very difficult. saying it so fast but still being funny is difficult. So balancing those two things up, I think I would probably go 8.1. What about you, sir?
8, yeah. 8.1.
Solid 8?
I'll do the same.
8.1 as well?
Yeah. There's a thing also that must have been just hell, is like just how many times they must have had to rehearse, because it's not only having to do it in this very specific way, but also just to be in the middle, to just the proportions, like everything seems like it's done
so precisely.
So precisely, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot of long takes. They're not like massively long, but a lot of the long takes are kind of cut together, really.
Yeah.
So it's certainly difficult in that sense.
Yeah.
Because it's quite a physical film, isn't it? So,
yeah, definitely.
Right, let's add up the scores then for the Grand Budapest Hotel and see who is the winner for Ralph Fiennes films. So the Grand Budapest Hotel gets 53.2 to the Constant Gardener's 47.9. So the Grand Budapest wins this one for this week. As always, Boaz, you've been on good form for Ralph Fiennes movies.
You're not so bad yourself.
Cheers.
Could use a little practice, but you're all right.
Yeah. All right, thanks. Right, that's it. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss, you can find us on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast and on Twitter at FVF_podcast. See you on the next one. Pod signing off.